Yeah. Did you just mouth that?
I should have did it late, like an Asian video.
Oh my God.
Which, by the way, speaking of Asian, did you see my Instagram today? I was like, shut up. I went to Target and Coca-Cola has now a Vietnamese name on a Coca-Cola bottle.
I did see that. That put me up. I
was like,
that.
Wow, it only took like
however many years.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm gonna pull it up right now because
I text my mom. I go, thank you so much for coming to America on your boat. Like she legit came over here on a boat, like 19. And it was because she doesn't
say back to you.
She gave me a thumbs up, but honestly, my mom doesn't. It's really like a traumatic for her to talk about the past. Sorry, I gotta take this toy away from my dog right now.
No, you're fine. Anyway. Have you ever talked to your mom about that before?
Yeah, I try to all the time. I was like, hey mom, tell me about like how it was like back then. She won't talk about it. Yeah. And then my dad's like, Tina, leave your mom alone. She's a survivor. Like that. You know what I mean? Like it's too much for her.
Do you want to talk about everything that's going on right now with the Asian community?
Oh my gosh, I've actually heard a lot of people are getting attacked.
I did not know that until recently, and it's been bad.
In the beginning, there was a little initial blaming, I think, the Asian people for COVID and stuff. And then I think some other matters happened, which like the political thing and then the Black Lives Matter thing. And so it kind of, I think, got pushed under the radar. And then it's like, I guess, coming back where there's been elderly people being attacked,
right,
that are Asian. And I guess the Asian people, they don't report it most of the time. They just, I don't know. But
yeah, I did not know that all of that was going on until I read a couple news articles about it and started realizing, holy cow. I mean, this is like a real thing that's happening right now. And you're right. It's not something, and maybe because of all the different movements and the election and all the things that were going on, it just wasn't. Here's the deal. We don't really get to choose what we all see sometimes, I feel.
I believe that. That's so true.
It's very filtered. And so I think that just wasn't something that the media was talking about or seeking out. And so, I mean, it's awful, but I'm glad that there's some emphasis on it now. Yeah.
I agree for sure.
So.
Well, anywho, it is, I guess, close to the anniversary of the pandemic, which is
wild. What the heck? A year ago. You know
what I was thinking yesterday? I was like, you know how there's all these inside jokes about, hey, the pandemic, you should have gotten like super fit and I should have been like an amazing cook by now and picked up a new hobby from the pandemic. Girl, I probably is not in the best shape of my life. Secondly, I have still not learned how to cook during this whole pandemic. And I'm like, what have I accomplished?
Well, let's talk about that because I know that you're not the only one thinking that. I was listening to one of my podcasts that I listened to, The Lady Gang, and they were like, if someone got like better looking during the pandemic, that's not right. they're like, no, people didn't do that. But I definitely think there's a big mix of how people handle this, either really well, not so well, internal things, external things. So that's what we're talking about today, y'all.
It's kind of like I needed a little time. And then now I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I'm just going to get used to this. Now I'm like, got my eating meal plan down. Like I just ordered a treadmill desk. I'm like, okay, well.
Wait, what? You got a treadmill desk?
Yeah, it's on the way, which it's an office expense,
Oh, I got to come over and see that.
Yeah, it's not here yet, but it's on its way.
Oh, that's sweet.
You just stick it under your desk.
Okay, here's what I'll say about you, though. Sure, maybe you didn't check some of the boxes that you wanted to in terms of fitness, but who the heck cares? Because I would say that you have accomplished a lot of your relationship goals and that you focused a lot on your friends and on your family, like more than ever before.
I think I probably have made so many strides in myself my inner self, my past, my personal stuff like that.
Yeah.
The relationship with myself first and foremost.
Yeah, that's been a big thing for both of us during this past year.
Yeah.
And
we were literally talking about you like the other day, and they're like, oh, your friend is 25. I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, I wish I knew the shit that she knows now. You know what I mean? Like I'm, and honestly, all my friends are older. And so they're saying like, I'm lucky. And I'm like, no, my friend Anna is lucky. She's just attacking this shit now.
But I think part of it was because of the pandemic though. I mean, here, let me say this before we talk about good things that came out of it. I think it's important, obviously, for us to acknowledge that this has been horrible and there's been a lot of loss and a lot of grieving people. So I don't want it to come across that way, which I don't think people listening would take it like that. But I think it's important for us to acknowledge the fact that I'm not trying to make a light of the whole situation.
Yeah, we're just trying to be the light in your life right now. Okay.
Right. But I do think it's important to recognize some of the positives that have come out of it. And one of them for me is, if anyone listening to this knows me, they know that I had no life. My whole life was work. I mean, that's all I did. I didn't go out. I didn't hang out with, like, I did nothing besides work. Yeah. And this pandemic, I got some of my hours cut, some of my pay cut, and that forced me to slow down. And now I'm like, holy shit, there's a world outside of my job. It's like, now I'm like, and I know that probably sounds so stupid, but I think this pandemic has really forced both you and I to slow down and be like, okay, what really matters? One of my favorite quotes that I feel like I've lived by more through this pandemic is that I need to be living for my eulogy, not for my resume.
Yeah.
And so I think I'm starting to do that now. I feel like more of a normal 25-year-old than a 50-year-old just working my ass off.
I just literally said that about you, right? Like, oh my God, you're 25. You need to be, you got to be 25.
Yeah.
Like you just went on your first trip, like real trip. Real.
Yeah, I know. Like, that's crazy. I was just telling you, like, that was my first trip with friends. Like, what? I never did a spring break. I never did a spring break because I'm like, I have to study for finals. Like I was always, I haven't really enjoyed some of those things. So I think that would be my big takeaway from this.
And then I was going to say, I'm sure you've heard this quote, slow down to go fast. Like you have to slow down to go fast.
Yeah.
Right. So slowing down, even though it's a forced slowdown, it probably, like for me, caused a lot of personal growth, which I think the trajectory will be even better rather than feeling like I'm running the same rat race every year.
Yeah. No, for sure. Absolutely. And I think that kind of ties into like the difference between being busy and versus productive.
Yeah.
I just was busy. Check the box, check this, check that, versus like the work that I'm actually doing is for something bigger than just me. Which being able to check the box.
I saw that your company, I saw Henry Shine.
Yeah.
Just in case you want to put it right here.
I'm like, what are you doing with your fingers?
I'm just kidding. Because sometimes you do like cool editing things. But I saw that y'all got one of the most ethical companies. So that is super cool.
Oh yeah, 10 years in a row, girlfriend. That's the reason why I won't talk about Henry Shine that long. Yeah. I promise. I could talk about it a long time. But that's one of the reasons why I like it so much. And here's the thing. We're jumping all over the place, but it's okay. I'm going to do it right now. I talk to students about figuring out what your non-negotiables are for jobs. For some people, it's pay. For some people, it's opportunity to move up. For some people, it's culture. And one of my non-negotiables was working for a company who did good for the community, right? And that's something that Henry Shine is known for. My dad was like, it's a $13 billion company. That's so sick. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that's cool. But like, I care about this other stuff. So yes, I'm really proud of Henry Shine. Absolutely.
Like, that's why we get a really good match.
That is, see, you know that my financial advisor over here knows my 401k match.
It is true. Y'all have like I don't usually see that high of a match.
I talk to new hires about that and candidates all the time.
Yeah, for sure.
Anywho.
Sorry to jump around. But I think the purpose was we've been in a pandemic for 1 year. Sorry, I'm looking at our calendar. We actually do plan these things, guys.
We attempt to plan.
We plan them with guidelines. I mean, we have guidelines, right?
pandemic talk and living alone talk. Let's talk about that for a second, because that's important that you changed environment and scenery for your mental health. That's one thing that I'm very concerned about right now and coming out of this pandemic. Not necessarily for our generation, but more so for younger generations. Like, what is your take on everything going on with the schools and with kiddos and what the future is going to look like? Because I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm scared.
Mm-hmm. I did see like a lot of conversations about like school and how it's social, like, the effects on children, psychological effects
Right.
on that. I mean, I told my friend, I'm like, I don't have a strong viewpoint on that. I think probably because I don't have children myself.
Right.
Probably.
Yep.
So I guess I probably don't have as much to say maybe about than you do, maybe.
I'm just worried about everyone's mental health a little bit. So this is your friendly reminder, everyone. If you're listening to this, go make someone smile.
Yes.
We all need it right now.
I will say for myself, I've done a lot of meditation, guided meditations, like morning and night.
You have so much more patience than I do.
I do it to go to sleep. Yeah, I just do it to go to sleep.
I need to stop scrolling. I suck. I was super good at it. I was really good about reading. Because I mean, I read like 2 books a month.
Uh-huh.
But lately I've just been on the damn phone and I need to stop.
Oh. I don't know.
What kind of meditation do you do? Like do you YouTube or what?
Yeah, I do a lot of YouTube and I've been listening to the same ones. I'm really big on manifestation lately. So in the morning I listen to like alpha female discipline, like stuff like that.
Ooh.
Yeah.
What do they talk? What do they say?
I mean, it's basically, how you have your own thoughts about yourself. You know, like, oh, I suck at this. Like, oh, I'm messed up again.
Oh, yeah. Self-sabotage for sure.
Yeah. So it's basically replacing those words with positive ones. Like I'm always disciplined. I always do things on time. Like, but it's really helpful because we are our own worst, like those words that I'm saying to myself. And then at night I listen to, abundance manifestations, right? Like stuff like that. Anything that's going to help me level up, because I just think my self-talk is beyond negative. And I'm sure that might be, on childhood stuff. Like I wasn't one of those kids that I think I probably grew up with critical parents, or so I think it's just different than other people's upbringing, because like, someone else I know, like they were always kind of told that they were loved and they were always told that they're the best. And then I'm from, multiple sisters. So you get a little bit of comparison. And you just kind of get like, I'm not the firstborn. So it's just, self-talk that I'm working through.
We talked to Ashton about that self-sabotage, and she posted about it recently. And I think it's so true. And so one of the things that I've heard is what you're talking about is saying some of those words of affirmation out loud. So have you noticed a difference? Do you follow, hang on. You need to go follow Alex L. Alex L. Spell like Alex and then ELLE. Follow her on Instagram. She posts words of affirmation all the time. And I don't actually look in the mirror and read them out loud because I'm like, I don't know if that actually works. But I've heard that it does.
It totally does. It totally does. I think it definitely has helped me. I think personally for me, I've been doing it for, I don't know, a while. I really believe your thoughts become things, like or even if it's a goal and you remind yourself every day of your goal, like that's where you're going to go. So it's kind of like your North Star.
Okay. What else do you want to talk about?
So I have been drinking more due to the pandemic. What's your drink of choice in the pandemic? Ever anything new?
Drinking it right now. Mine is red wine.
No, but you have a favorite?
Oh, I either drink Black Box or Boda Box. It's $16 for a massive box and it tastes delicious.
Which you guys, there you go, guys. Send Anna Boda Box kits.
So good. So good. That would be it. Probably that. And red wine's been my go-to over the pandemic. Yeah. What's been yours?
I've acquired I actually really love red wine now.
It takes a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like I've been drinking for like whatever years now, and I finally am like, oh, I actually like want to drink it, and I don't just drink it because like I should drink it because I look adult or classy. I actually like it now.
No, I enjoy it.
I love saldo or like Camus or Paso Robles. When you
what the hell is that? That all sounds
go to a fancy restaurant, Anna, you just text me. I'll tell you what
yeah.
On your
that sounds fancy. I'm over here drinking like Jose Cuervo and like
actually my favorite tequila. Like I love lots of tequila, but like my favorite kind of like it's expensive is Jose Cuervo La Familia Reserva or something like that. It's like $30 for one glass.
Oh, see.
So don't diss the old school Jose, you know, from college, you know, the no, none of that.
See, I'm cheap when we go out.
It's different though. You know how we're different in ages? Like I was at that life.
That is true.
I was drinking like a Riesling back in the day because it's like super sweet and
oh, ew. It's bad though, because I'll go out, I'll get like, you know, a couple beers in me, and all of a sudden I'm like ready for a shot, and I'm like, let's do a round of tequila, and everyone thinks it's gonna be like, everyone else wants like Patron and like nice stuff, and I'm like, bitch, I'm not gonna pay for that.
No,
I'm like, just give me well, just chill it, just give me well.
Yeah, as long as it's super chilled. That's so funny. I'm opposite. I just want to go in for the kill and then just ride the down.
Oh, that's probably a better idea.
Yeah, because then by the time I go home, I'm like, I'm totally good to drive. Like
I don't know. I don't really get that. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like,
you're probably right.
I've had a good time, but I think that's part of the whole thing that we talked about before, because I was so work focused and school. I mean, I didn't really like, I was never like crazy into partying.
And yeah, if I were to give you some advice, be like, I feel like I gave up my youth, like for work or for just like debt, you know, like student loan debt and
right.
And I would be like, girl, you're gonna look like that. You're gonna like when you're 30-something, you're gonna be like, why was I bitching when I was looking, you know, like I was bitching about being fat or then or like and there will always be work. Like take time for yourself, travel. Remember we talked about this. Your goals is to travel.
Oh yeah. You know? Yeah, I started it a little bit. I went to Breckenridge.
Until the freaking pandemic.
I think that's a good point though. We are all over the place, but I'm not mad about it. I'm actually really enjoying this, because the next thing that I was going to talk about relates to that is, I think you do need to own it. Like that's a conversation that I've been having with a lot of students.
What do you mean?
Like how you were talking about like how I look right now. Like don't be so worried about like how I'm looking, like just own it.
Yeah.
And it's something that I've been talking to a lot of students about, because a lot of them are getting into the workforce and they're like, but I'm so young, I'm a female, I'm this, I'm that. And I'm like, own that shit. Celebrating rather than comparing. My daily devotional today was about celebrating other people rather than comparing yourself to them, because we're all unique, right? Like there's things about you that you're stronger in than I am, and vice versa. But it's a waste of my time to sit here and be like, oh, Tina's so much better at finances than me. Like there's no one got time for that.
I actually had that realization in like in a work environment more so. Like I just want to continue doing what I'm good at, like what I'm like my strong suits. And why should I try to improve at like admin, like stuff that I'm not good at, nor do I like doing, like admin type stuff, right? So delegate what someone else is awesome at and they love to do. But before I used to be like, oh, why do I suck at and like, no, I own what I'm good at, and then I delegate what I'm not good at.
Amen, sister. Yeah. Well, and that's what friends and coworkers are for, right? I think having that conversation with them, like, I suck at Excel. Girl, I'm so bad at Excel. And I would tell people, if you're in college right now, take a course in Excel.
Oh my gosh, it's a powerful tool.
I know. So I know how to do all the basics, right?
Yeah, that's all you need to know though, honestly.
Then I got to assign this project. And I opened up the Excel document. It had like 1,000 pages on it. It had all the VLOOKUPs and all this crap on it. I literally wanted to cry. I felt so overwhelmed.
No, you should call one of your students that you connected with. That's what they're like, hey, I got an internship.
Well, I called my coworker. So that's the thing is like, I know I'm not good at Excel. So I set aside time and I'm like, hey, Joe, can you work with me on this for like an hour? Just help me get going with it and then I'll take it from there. But rather than spending 10 hours drowning in it, it's like, okay, just use your circle.
Yeah, and
people
really like people really like to help. I think they genuinely do like to help.
I agree.
Yeah. So don't hesitate to ask. I've learned that in the pandemic is like being like a, what is it called? Like a female, whatever. Like I don't want to ask for help like ever.
Yeah.
I'm actually trying to practice like asking for help or asking for what I want.
Mm-hmm.
That has to do with like the boundary thing and the feminine thing that we were talking about.
Yeah. I could tell you were about to say feminist, but you decided not to.
Because I wasn't sure what's the word.
What?
I wasn't sure actually on the language. Sometimes I question my English.
Well, because I was going to say now, unfortunately, that has like a bad connotation with it, which stinks.
Oh, that makes sense.
I mean, that's a whole nother conversation. I just feel
like don't take it offensively. It's not meant offensively.
Well, I clearly am drinking wine right now because I'm getting a little like frisky in what I'm saying. I sometimes feel like everyone takes things a little bit too sensitively and personally now. I don't know. That's a whole nother conversation, I guess.
I think
you don't want to talk about that, but
I think it's based on how, like, what lens you're receiving it in. Like, sometimes you'll be like, "Hey, was that mean?" And I'm like, "No, I like in my heart and I know like that's not what you meant." You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
if it just depends on the day, maybe the lens that you're looking at it, and sometimes those circumstances are based on what that person's going through at that time.
For sure.
So, I always kind of think of like, okay, it's not me, it's something. Yeah.
Which is the case 99% of the time. Yeah. I would also argue, maybe this is me being naive, but I would say if someone is asking you a question or someone doesn't use like proper terminology, I don't think it's out of malicious reasons. I feel like most people have good intentions, but again, maybe that's me being naive, but I would argue that most people have good intentions when asking different questions. Or I mean, even earlier we were talking about the Asian community and the different things going on, right? And it's like, I don't know, maybe people would be upset by that, but it's like,
I feel that. So like I have a friend that's like Muslim, and forgive me, and she can look like she's another type of person. And I'm like, and she's told me like 100 times, like she's Muslim, and then, but then at the same time, she's, I think possibly Indian, right? So it's like, I think but you can be Indian and be like all different dialects. And so I'm like, hey, I know you told me 100 times. Could you please remind me, like, so.
Yeah. And so I guess that would be my question, is I'd be curious to hear other people's opinions on that, because I don't know, maybe it does depend on the person, but like you asking that and me asking your perspective on what's going on with the Asian culture right now is because I care about you and I want to make sure that I'm being correct and that I know what's going on, not because I'm trying to point out, I'm not trying to point something out and make it like,
well, and then I'm not getting all righteous about it. Like, yeah, it's about time. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Like, because people do twist it like as if it like happened to them. And, and I'm not getting, don't get it twisted. Like I care about all, the whole Asian community. And I honestly care about everyone. Like I care about when, the whole movements have happened. I mean, I care for my friends. Like maybe I'm not of that descent or color or whatever, but I feel your pain. I'm empathetic. And there are situations where, I have been in similar positions, but not the same. Like, don't get it twisted. I'm not saying my thing.
Right.
Yeah. And so I feel for everyone. I'm not gonna lie, I do have that side of me who's like, I've worked for, and this is a separate topic, it has nothing to do with race or anything. It's just like, I've worked for where I've been, where we grew up from, you can do it too. Like sometimes I get a little bit like, when people feel entitled to things, even in the work environment, sometimes people will label younger people, like, oh, you're a millennial, you just feel so entitled. You're like, whoa, like I kind of like, I work a lot, like.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Because you're like a later, early millennial.
Yeah, early millennial.
You're an early one. I'm a late. I'm like I'm the cutoff. My year is the cutoff.
But do you get that sometimes where like,
all the time.
Entitled.
I get that all the time. It drives me insane.
Well, there are some that give, the millennials a bad name.
Well, yeah. And then I call those people out and I'm like, you're the reason why millennials have a bad name. Like, get off the couch and get your shit together. What are you doing?
Exactly. So I've been posting on my Instagram a lot of like enlightening things. And my friend was like, hey, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. She's like, well, you've been posting a lot of da-da-da. I'm like, I'm just feeling righteous. Like, I just feel like, you know what? Like, this is how I feel. Nothing's going on in my life. I just feel like, more vocal about it, stuff with relationships, stuff with work, it's just interesting.
No, I agree. Wow. We really spiraled there. Sorry.
I know.
I think I caused that.
No, I don't think it was all. I think today, like we went in thinking like, hey, we can kind of make it flow, which is fine. Yeah. Me. Well, I like to just know the parameters are something.
Well, I think though, we'll put a big bow on it with this because we're talking about, the year anniversary of the pandemic. I would argue if it wasn't for the pandemic, we probably wouldn't even be having this conversation right now.
That's true.
We probably wouldn't be talking about race. We wouldn't be talking about sensitivity. We wouldn't be talking about entitlement. We wouldn't even be talking, period, because you and I would not have started this podcast.
I think it's really helped a lot of people though, like from the standpoint of, think of look at the racial world. I think we've made leaps. Like we're at least what's it making it heard, like, contributing more to Black owned businesses, what I mean? And I just think that it's been helpful to just kind of catapult maybe those conversations rather than like having it delayed.
Yeah, I agree. I love the fact that I have had the opportunity to learn, and there's so much more that I need to learn about different things regarding race, regarding gender. Like, I am here for it. Like, know that I'm like that. My only thing that I'm struggling with all of it is that I'm at the point now that I feel like no matter what I say or do, it's wrong.
Or you're going to offend someone. Oh my gosh. Even as we're talking right now, I was like, I literally was thinking
you caught yourself. You caught yourself like 4 times and you're like, what do I want to say? And it's like, that's my only thing is like, hell yeah. Like, let's talk about it for sure. But I want to be able to talk about it without someone going down my throat saying that I'm a horrible human.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like now, like with emojis on our phone, I don't use the white hands anymore. I use the yellow ones because I don't want
to I've always kept mine yellow.
Like, I don't want to offend someone with that. And now when I talk to students, like a lot of times I talk to females and I'm like, girl, you got this. And it's like, can I say that now? Or are they going to get mad at me? So that's the only thing is I am here for everything that's going on. I'm here for it. And I want to talk about it. And I want to hear people's stories. And I want to hear people on the far left. And I want to hear people on the far right. Like, sign me up.
Well,
but I don't want to talk about it if we can't be respectful to each other. The other thing though that I want to say about it. What?
I just think that's fascinating.
What is? Like all the changes?
All the change. Just like how fast things change, and then you're saying 10 years from now, we're going to be talking about Snowmageddon and the freaking COVID, and we're going to be talking crazy. Our
grandchildren are going to look at us and be like, you were alive during COVID?
I know, it's going to be in history books.
Here's the other thing that I will say. And again, maybe you disagree. Maybe people might get mad at me for saying this, but I'm change takes time.
Yes. And I don't
10
think
years ago, right now, like for example, I don't remember the exact statistic, but it's less than 3% of females that are in sales leadership positions. Like craziness. But 10 years ago, it was 0.
Yeah.
So like that's my only other thing that I will say is that it takes time. And I think we're making steps in the right direction for sure. But the people that think it's going to happen overnight, it's just not realistic. So like you need to do your part. You need to share your story. You need to speak your voice every day, but you can't get violent and cruel when it doesn't happen the next day.
You can't demand it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I agree with that. I don't like that approach, demanding it. But I do believe you can, with your actions.
Yeah. You work your ass off towards it.
Yeah.
And you and I are 2 people that I would argue are doing that right now. You're an Asian female dominating in the finance world. Like there's not a lot of women.
There's not.
And
There's
mostly of a different culture that are in that world.
Yeah.
And I've been the only female on my team for a while now. And
well, and then if you consider yourself being super young too, like leading, that's super cool. I think that's super cool.
Mm-hmm.
Doing national.
I mean, I'm one of the youngest managers, not to sound like, oh, hey, no. But it's like I'm working my ass off to try to prove that point and to make that change.
Yeah,
that you don't sit here and bitch about it and not do anything.
Yeah, I think that's huge. Like, so you don't have to be like, gray hair and old to have that management role. You can freaking do it now.
Yeah,
like Anna is doing,
and like Tina's doing. No, I think this was a good episode. I think it was honest.
I think it was.
And I think there's a lot of people who are either feeling the same way as us or maybe feeling the exact opposite. But I think you and I are both here for all perspectives. I mean, that's the whole point of this. It's like, talk to us about what you're thinking. Talk to us about what's going on. Like now, COVID has opened up those doors.
Yeah. I heard that COVID's going to last like a little bit longer based on like my medical clients, right? But
it's not. I'm really glad that we're off the trend of saying when we get back to normal, because this is our normal for a while.
But I heard there's a downtick in cases.
There for sure is. I agree. But like, there will be people out there who will wear masks forever.
I actually might.
Right. Like,
because I saw this cool mask that was like turned into a scarf when you drop it. I was like, oh, that's
have you seen the ones that are scrunchies? Oh
my God. That's one of my clients' daughters invented that.
Share her information.
I will. One of my colleagues' clients' daughters, and we told her to patent it, and we were like, we will buy 10% of your company.
Yeah, that's genius.
Yeah.
Because now scrunchies are in again, so
there so are the silk ones for sure. But no, being serious.
I know you're
I also learned during the pandemic, since we're sorry, and I'm sure you're trying to close this up. I'm sorry, but I was just thinking this. It really made me like super. I don't know, what is it called? Resourceful. I colored my hair by myself.
Yeah, girl.
And then I did my nails.
I know. Look at these bad boys.
Yeah. And then
are yours stick on?
No, I did the glue on.
No, that's what I mean. Like, did you glue them on?
Yeah, I glued them on. But there is peel and stick too. That's why I wasn't sure if you were talking about.
Oh no, these are just glue on. Okay, I will say though,
they look perfect.
These look legit, and they were $5.
They look, and you could use the whole pack the whole month.
I know. So if any of you ladies realize that you're spending way too much money on your nails, wink, wink.
Financial tip. There you go.
And financial tip. Yeah, we always have to include a financial tip. That's it.
They always look perfect.
Yeah, your nails look bomb.
Right. And then my hair, that was so easy. That was like $3.99 in a box. Thanks, Revlon. Just in case you want to sponsor this video.
Well, on that note, thank y'all for joining our Real Talk. We'll talk to you later.